In this presentation, I'm talking about the purpose of research, about its aims and objectives, as well as about research questions, and about how all of these are similar, but also what the differences are between them. So you might have heard that aims, research questions, purpose, objectives. I mean, what exactly are they and how do we distinguish between them? And we often hear aims and objectives together. Purpose and research question, there is also some match, but we don't often kind of hear them kind of phrased and formulated jointly. But let's look at what they are. So aims are at the broad and high level, often maybe just summarized in one sentence, what your study really would like to find out. And then corresponding objectives, they break it down into smaller level objectives, more detailed, which specify the different types of things you would like to generate insight in. And the purpose as well is often phrased in one or two sentences as a very broad level, like aims. Whereas research questions, again, they tend to be quite detailed, so they are similar to the level of objectives. And I often find that objectives and research questions, they're kind of the same thing, except that one time they are phrased as kind of what you would like to gain insight in, and the next time it's phrased as a question. And the same for aims and purpose, right? It's in some ways a different name for a broad level description of what you would like to learn from your study. So let's look at a couple of examples. So here's our first example. We have a description of the aim. So the article aims to deepen our understanding of communication and of interdisciplinarity in a participatory workshop environment. And it also aims to deepen our understanding of how facilitation contributes to communication and interdisciplinarity. So here we are quite specific about the aim already. And then the next sentence is it goes into the direction of describing the contribution. So the article provides a micro-level analysis, a dynamic view, and thorough understanding of participatory system dynamics workshop. And then we have a list of 3 more specific objectives. The first one is to understand how the disciplinary and interdisciplinary focus of the conversation unfolds over time. So in a system dynamics workshop, the second one is what activities the facilitator uses to manage this workshop, and then how this facilitation affects the conversation. So what effect does it have on kind of maybe the other participants and how they participate? And you see that the objectives are formulated in the types of insight we would like to get. A common mistake that I see with objectives is that they are often formulated as methodological steps, but that's what they should not be, right? Here we don't see a description of how we generate this insight. It's not a description of the methods used. It's really just a description of what types of insight we would like to get. What would we like to understand? Here we have a second example with a short description of a broad aim. In this study, we aim to explore the views and experiences of civil servants in government and of experts in the field about systems thinking. And 4 more detailed objectives. So investigate how civil servants became interested in systems thinking, how they define it, which values they attribute to it, and to investigate the interviewee's experience around implementing systems thinking in policymaking. And again, these are the things, we would like to get insight on. These do not describe the methodological steps. But you can also imagine that now it would be with very nicely defined objectives. It's then quite easy to tie specific methods to those objectives that we have. And this is a different example. Here we have no broad aims or specific objectives. Here we have a description of research questions. And they are quite detailed, so they are at the level of where objectives would typically be. So the first one is, to what extent can quantitative system dynamics modeling support decision makers with a holistic understanding of a complex socio-hydrological system? Then the second one is, to what extent can the combination of scientific and stakeholder knowledge within quantitative system dynamics modeling increase the understanding of both flood risks and consequences in urban settings and support the selection of measures for increasing flood resilience? Third one is, to what extent does the implementation of blue and green infrastructure and the interplay with grey infrastructure enhance urban flood resilience through the interaction with different subsystems? Right, you see, they are quite detailed, very specific, these research questions. So you also saw kind of there are different ways to formulate this. It's very nice to kind of, as you saw with the aims and objectives, too often we see that we start with a broad aim and then we go into more detailed objectives. That's also very nice, because on the one hand it summarizes your quest for insight in one sentence, but then you also break it down to different insight steps, which can then be very nicely tied to the different methodological steps that you have in your study. So good luck applying this in your own writing projects.